welcome to the accountability class. And Myron, you said that with such passion, it was almost like, I'm going to make you have fun. But we all know that if we are enjoying ourselves in a learning opportunity, then we take something from it. So I encourage you to be playful out, get involved. It's a great class. We've gotten great feedback on it. It is interactive. Really want to hear from you. We've had a lot of courageous conversations in class, and that's the key to it. All of you have been in leadership at different levels and different years of experience. So you've all bring something different to the table. So there's a lot of value in what you share over the next couple of days to help each other. The other thing I'm sure you're asking yourself is, what can I expect? First, it's important for us to understand what accountability is and how it actually improves team performance. You know, we've been talking a lot in safety leadership training around building this culture of safety excellence, but I would throw out there to you that without accountability, we're never going to get to those zero numbers, because we're really at that point where we're left is that human factor. We've got great machines out there, we've got hydraulics, we've moved from a lot of manual labor, we've got rule books that are this tall, we've got audits, we've got ops testing, we've got training, we've got all those things. You now are at the point to where do we remove that last 2% is really the human factor, and that all surrounds accountability. So we're going to talk about that and how it's going to improve your team performance. We're also going to be able to effectively coach, counsel, and discipline. And also, how do I integrate all these steps? We're actually going to give you a formalized step process to go through your conversations with your employees. If you'll use these steps and if you'll practice it, that's the big piece. The silver bullet's not what we do in here today and tomorrow. The silver bullet is application out into the field. So if you do those things, you are going to be more effective. You are going to be a 7 3/4 in 6 months, or an 8. But the key to it is how much am I willing to go out there and apply it. And you guys have seen that from your other classes that you've attended. If you take just one thing, you'll make a difference going forward. We're going to talk about what accountability is. It's important for us to understand what accountability is before we can move into how to have a culture of accountability. We also want to talk about coaching an employee. There's a big difference between coaching, counseling, and discipline. Let's talk a little bit about what each of those are so that we can be more effective in those. We're going to talk about ego needs. Our people all have ego needs. We all have ego needs. And we also, there's something we call the golden rules. That if we use those golden rules and we realize what the ego needs are, then we can really make a difference in the conversations that we are having with people. We're much more effective. Then we're going to move into counseling, taking up a next level. We've done some coaching, now we're moving to the counseling, and that's going to be focused on the behaviors that are causing the performance discrepancy. Inquiring minds want to know, what were those 4 words that you captured on how you felt during that first exercise?
Energized, engaged, deflated, and elated.
That's great. Did you get all that? Energized, engaged. And say more about that, Jay. That was in the beginning?
That was in the beginning.
And then it went down to deflated, and what else?
Elated.
Elated. Great. Somebody else. Throw some words out there.
I was set up.
I was set up. He felt set up. Great.
I was restrained.
Restrained.
But I also very comfortable.
Comfortable. Used to these type of situations, huh? Felt right at home.
Right at home.
Anything else, Steve?
I only had those 3.
Okay. How about you, Dennis?
Basically, you know, I had kind of Jay hat there. I was first energized, and then the leader interrupted us and basically took away from our quality time together.
So you felt taken away from?
Yeah, got fired.
Fired?
Um,
So could you say that you felt disempowered in that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I hear that takeaway, so a disempowered feeling?
And then once the leader left the room, we Myron did a good job of trying to get us back on track, and we did get back on track, and we continued the process.
So found some of your own passion,
Right.
came back. Now what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about the difference between coaching, counseling, and discipline. Sometimes we lump that all together, right? We just kind of lump it all together, but there is some real differences out there. When I say coaching, what do you think about? When I say I'm going to coach someone, tell me a little bit about that.
To me, it's helping develop a new skill in somebody that they are interested in and passionate about. So, it's understanding what they want and then helping them achieve that goal.
That's exactly right, Steve. It's usually a skill gap. Sometimes what we call mentoring or coaching, we're getting in there, giving them feedback on how they can do it better, identifying some areas that we could give them additional training on, those kind of things. So that's coaching. It's really not behavioral based. It's a lack of a skill or ability in something. Now we're moving to counseling, and where coaching and counseling are different is it's really around behaviors. Really around behaviors. Like, give me some examples of things that you have concern over in your group when it relates to behaviors, the people that you lead. What are some of those discrepancies where their performance is not where it should be?
Getting them to be self-motivated.
Self-motivated, that's right. Getting them to have that sense of urgency to get the job done. What else? What else?
Safety concerns.
Safety concerns. Tell me a little bit more about that, Jay.
Seeing a known pattern of unsafe acts.
Right.
That would warrant counseling. Bring them in and explain to them what's going on, what you're seeing, and work them through it.
So they have the knowledge, but they're choosing to take those shortcuts.
Yes.
So they're not performing to what the expectations are, correct, in safety. Excellent. What else?
On-time performance.
Great. And you're talking about being to work on time, being in briefing on time, being within the window of the track and time, right?
Yes.
All those kinds of things, that reliability piece. Also, we could tie in absenteeism as well, right? Someone that doesn't even show up to work. What else?
Skill level performance. Not working up to what they've been instructed already. What you know they know, they're not applying.
You know they have the skill, but they're just not doing it, right? You know they have the skill to put 4 welds in. They're a welder, they can do 4 welds, and they're only getting 2 or 3 a day. But there's definitely a definition between coaching and counseling. And really in counseling, I'm looking for behaviors, the choices, and you guys have said that, the choices that people are making. Now, and then the next step is I've counseled someone, they're not responding, I'm not seeing any behavior, so now we've moved to discipline, right? Now, I had a question. We're going to talk a lot more about discipline tomorrow, but as we think about this, 2 questions for you. The first question is, define to me what accountability is. What do you think of when I say, what is accountability?
Being responsible for your own actions or the actions of your team.
Right, being responsible for me and my team. And what was really key here that was said was me, that personal accountability, right? For what I know the expectations are, and then to my group. Do we sometimes view accountability as a negative? How do our people view that?
It's negative.
Yeah, why? Why, if it's just being responsible, if it's being responsible for what we know our expectations are, why do you think we view it as a negative?
Because accountability becomes action.
Action, accountability, there's consequences is what you're saying, and what else?
Blame. They
Blame.
get blamed for something.
Blame, that's right. So a lot of times, people view accountability as punitive, right?
Because most of the time they hear the words, go out and hold your people accountable.
Right.
So, what does that mean in their mind?
Well, I think
You're in trouble now,
Yeah.
right? You're in trouble now, and it's also that, how do you feel as a leader that Jeff says, Dennis, go out and hold your people accountable. How's Dennis feeling right now? Tell me, Dennis, how does that make you feel when somebody says, you need to hold your people accountable, Dennis?
Well, that means that, I'm not feeling too good because I'm gonna have to go out there and drop the hammer on some folks.
But I'm gonna throw something up there to you guys, and I wanna ask you what you think about it. Where does positive recognition come in?
Yes, accountability is a two-way street. You're accountable for the success of your team, and recognizing and celebrating those successes.
That's exactly
And
right.
we often fail as leaders because we don't get remembered for our recognition and celebration. We get recognized for when we had to hold somebody accountable for a performance failure.
And that's what Dennis said a moment ago, is how we view accountability. We're waiting for the hammer to drop. How many of your people have said, the only time I hear from my leader is when I do something wrong? I never hear when I'm doing something right. Or how many of you have worked for a leader that this was your mindset? I want you to raise your hand if this is your mindset, if you work for this kind of leader. You know what? As long as I don't hear anything, I must be doing it right.
Sometimes.
So what is the accountability look like in that work group? What does it look like? It's the hammer falling, right? You never hear if you've done it right or you're doing a good job. So that's what I want you to think about as we move through this. Really building that culture of accountability is around what Steve said. It's around recognition and celebration and coaching people and helping people, and for them to believe you as a leader want to see them reach their full potential. Now, can I make them reach their full potential?
No.
No. But I can guide them, I can give them feedback, I can help them get there, I can spend time with them, but I cannot make them take personal accountability, right? I cannot make them perform. I can support them, but I can't make them. It's a personal choice. All of you guys have a personal choice. You all had a choice today whether you would show up or not, right? You all had a choice, really.
Sort of.
No.
Just kidding.
I'm still working on that decision.
Throw that in there.
But seriously, did you have a choice? Those people that don't show up to briefing on time made a choice, right? I'm not going to be to work on time. We all have choices every day, and you guys decided to show up. So you think about that. Our people make decisions every day about their performance. They make decisions. You have an opportunity here in the accountability and building the culture of accountability to help them navigate through their choices. So, I also want to ask you another question. When I say discipline, do you think of that as a positive or a negative?
Yes.
Yes, both?
Yeah.
What you've defined there is like when we talked about Washington or Abraham Lincoln or all the heroes that we have, they were disciplined individuals, right? Or think about your favorite sports figure, athlete out there. What does it take for them to have gotten there? Think about Olympic athletes. What did it take for them to achieve the results they got? What did it take?
They have discipline within themselves.
That's right.
And that's a culture that they have to build in themselves.
Right.
To be able and willing to do the things that they do. And so when it comes to accountability, you've got to hold that to them, the person that you're dealing with, the discipline within yourself to do anything.
So we're trying to encourage people to be self-disciplined, right? That's what we're working on and helping them see where they're not. A lot of times when we say discipline, though, coaching, counseling, and discipline, yes, and it can be very parental, right? And so where we're trying to move this is, if I'm making choices not to perform, if Deborah's not performing, there's certain expectations. And there are consequences if I am not making the correct decisions, just like anything in life, right? If I run a red light and get in an accident, that was the consequences. That's kind of the discipline behind if I make the wrong choice, right? Things happen, there's consequences. Now, when we talk about disciplining our employee, there's not going to be any surprises, and we want to deliver it in a manner that is, I'm trying to help you get to where you need to be. And it's kind of that thing, you've ever heard that terminology, price of admission? So what's the price of admission to be part of Justin's gang? Or what's it the price of admission to be part of Dennis's signal team? Or the LAJ? We can ask all those questions out there, and that's what our people need to understand. So accountability is setting expectations, coaching our people, counseling, disciplining, taking those steps, and spending it in a value-added activity.